afternoon, everyone, and welcome back. I'm Yogendra Singh, your host for today's session on the day 2 of Mathematics Summit 4.0. And I'm thrilled to continue this exciting journey of learning with you. In our first session, we explored math without fear, breaking the anxiety cycle with Alex Box. Now, in our second session, we'll focus on a crucial topic: how to be a math mentor. Teaching isn't just about delivering knowledge, it's about guiding, mentoring, and inspiring students to think critically, solve problems creatively, and develop confidence in their mathematical abilities. We are joined by Mr. Shravan SK, who brings with him a wealth of knowledge and experience. He holds a master's in computational and data sciences from IISc Bangalore and is deeply passionate about transforming school education. His work focuses on inquiry-based learning and problem-solving approaches. Mr. Shravan is also closely associated with the Seed to Sapling Education Foundation, where he enriches school education experiences. And he has contributed significantly to the Technical Secretariat of the National Steering Committee for NCF 2023. Furthermore, he is currently part of the committee developing new NCERT mathematics textbooks aligned with the NEP 2020. We are excited to hear his insights on how we as educators can evolve in math mentors who inspire students to reach their full potential. Quick reminder, participants, the third session for the day has been cancelled because of some unavoidable circumstances. So we'll meet up again after this session for the last session of the day from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., followed by the much awaited quiz for you all, where you stand a chance to win Amazon vouchers worth up to 48,000 rupees. The quiz will start from 5 p.m. onwards. Make sure to stay tuned and participate to win exciting prizes. Some housekeeping rules. Participants will be muted throughout the entire session. Please ensure you have a pen and paper to note important information. The chat box will only be enabled during the Q&A round and as required by the speaker. To receive your e-certificate, please fill out the feedback form that will be sent to your registered email ID by Monday. Don't forget to participate in the quiz today after the session. Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Shravan SK. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, so I'll share my screen now. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Okay. So first of all, I would like to welcome all the teachers to my session. So the topic, as you can see on the screen, is Upskilling Teachers for Impact. And you can see a subtitle. It's a short journey towards self-reflection. So in all the previous sessions, you might have heard about different suggestions, different classroom actions, and various other inputs from other distinguished speakers. So in this session, I thought let me help all of you on a journey of self-discovery and self-reflection. Often we get very preoccupied and tangled up with things. We lose the larger goal and perspective of why we are doing what we are doing. Is what we are doing helping what we want to achieve? So this session is curated to include aspects of self-discovery and reflection. So the more sincerely you participate in this, the higher are the chances new avenues will open up for yourselves. So the session is targeted both at school teachers and also school leaders. So school leaders can think both for themselves and for their teachers. Yeah, and as I said, to make the best of the webinar, you are expected to be active players and not just mere spectators. Yeah, so NEP recommends 50 hours of annual continual professional development. How can we utilize this time effectively? And more fundamentally, the question we all have across the globe is how can we enhance the learning levels or competencies of our students? So before we answer this question, we should look at what are the different factors that influence the learning levels of a student. and how each of these factors contribute to the learning levels. And in each of these aspects, where are we and what are we doing? Once we look at this, we'll also look at some possible directions and avenues. So this is the overview of today's session. So before we begin, what makes a dish taste great? What do you think? Definitely the person who cooks, the knowledge of cooking that they have, the skill that they possess, that is definitely important. And what are the resources and practical conditions that are there? Like, do they have all the tools and equipment that they need? Do they have sufficient time to cook? That is also important. And what is the dish that is being prepared? So that also can impact whether a dish tastes great for the one who is eating. And as important also is the environment in which it is being prepared and the person who is eating it, right? So the person who is eating, how their mood is, how hungry they are, and whether they like this particular dish. All of these contribute to deciding whether a dish tastes great, right? So similarly, what makes a learning experience engaging and effective? I would want you to take some time and list down all the things that contribute towards making learning experiences engaging and effective. You can put down your responses in the chat. Okay, hands-on activities. What else? Quizzes, interaction activities. Okay. Love for the subject. That's nice. Good rapport, collaboration. Okay. Experimental. Gaming. Okay. Playway method. Okay. What else? Quick writes. I don't know what that means. Okay. Real world examples, skill based activities, space for understanding. Okay. Making child get interested. Yes, very important. Doing and learning. Clear communication. Very important. Motivation, very fundamental. Yes. Life situations. Okay. Coming to their level. Yes. Very often we keep teaching something and the children may not understand what we are teaching. Yeah. Project story based learning. Involvement. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your responses. So to classify the different kind of responses, right? One is, of course, the most important aspect is the teacher themselves, right? So do you all agree that a teacher has a very important role in creating engaging and effective learning experiences? I'm sure you would all agree. Yes. And one more factor is the school and class. What are the resources available? What is the classroom and school culture? And what are the practices that are followed? A fundamental factor is also curriculum. How well the curriculum is structured. Is it properly paced? Is sufficient time given to each of these? And even in mathematics, are prerequisites done properly? And of course, the center is the student himself. Does the student know the prerequisites? Are they interested in this particular topic? Yeah, all these also matter. Home environment also plays a very important factor. What is the support that the parents are offering, right? And do they have time at home to spend learning more mathematics if they wish to, right? So in this session, we'll specifically focus on the role that the teacher plays and do some more deep dive into it, right? And if there is time available, I'll also touch upon the other aspects. So coming to teacher, so what is teaching? If we ask this question, what is teaching? Right? So teaching, one way to say it is, teaching is part science, part art, part heart, and the rest an adventure. So I like this statement because I think all the complexities and nuances of teaching is captured reasonably well in this short statement. Yes. Yeah. So when we say science, art, heart, and adventure, what do we mean? Right. So when we refer to teaching as a science, it is nothing but the subject knowledge and the pedagogical knowledge. Yeah. And when we say it is an art, it is the creativity that a teacher brings in and the personal touch that the teacher brings in, our individuality or our personality. And when we say heart, like, do we love maths? Does our teaching bring out the passion, or are we just doing it as a task? Do we genuinely care towards all our students? Are we sensitive to their needs? And adventure. So I'm sure you would all agree, teaching is an adventure. So what might work today, it may not work tomorrow. What has worked in this class, it may not work in another class. And we also keep seeing curriculum changes and several other changes. So the change is something which is always constant in teaching. Yeah. And yeah, several things are also challenging. I'm sure you would all acknowledge. So coming to the science part, that is the subject knowledge. So mathematical competence. So what are the different aspects of mathematical competence? Of course, the first one is conceptual understanding. So instead of just telling conceptual understanding, let me give you some examples through which I illustrate what we mean by conceptual understanding, right? Say, for example, what is the area of the, sorry, what is the perimeter of the blue shape on this grid? You can put down in chat your response. What is the perimeter of the blue shape? Nine, okay. 6. No, I'm not asking about area. I'm asking about perimeter. 10, okay. Others, what do you think? 10, okay. 10. 10, okay. There is a unanimous agreement that it is 10 units. Okay, some are saying it is 9 units. 9. Oh, someone is saying 8 plus 2 square root 2. Okay, interesting. 8 plus 2 root 2. Okay. So for those of you who said 10 or 9 or any other natural number, so do you see the diagonal line here, right? So what is the length of the diagonal line? Is it 2 units or is it something more than 2 units? It's not 2 units, right? Because the diagonal will be longer than the side of the square. So the perimeter is not 10. So when I said conceptual understanding, so this is a gap which many of us have, that we think the length of a diagonal is same as the length of the side, right? So the first thing that maths teachers should have is we should have a solid conceptual understanding. So I saw this particular example in one of the schools that I went to observe, that this is what the teacher was teaching. Yeah. So this was one more example. In one of the worksheets, a teacher had given a problem starting with a forest has a tree of height 4,035 kilometers. So do you think this is a realistic number? Can a tree be this tall? What is the typical height of trees? So what this demonstrates is that particular teacher lacked number sense or sense of measurement, right? So one more example is we all know how to do long division, and we also teach long division in our primary classrooms. But do we really know how this works or why this works? All we are doing is multiplication and subtraction, but somehow we get the answer at the end as the quotient, right? And if you observe, when we do long division, we always start from the left. But whereas in addition, subtraction, multiplication, we start from the right. Why is this difference? So do we have an understanding of why the procedures work? These are also part of the conceptual understanding, right? One more example is what is the fraction of this which is colored orange? You can type in the chat. What fraction is colored? 2 out of 25. Okay. Okay. Good. So it's clear that it is 2 out of 25, right? Okay. How about now? What fraction of the square is colored green? Four out of 25. Okay. Clear. Right. Okay. Now, what fraction of this figure is colored blue? What fraction of the figure is colored blue? Okay. So here we can see some different answers. We have 4 by 50, we have 4 by 25. Yeah. So this again shows that there is some gap. There might be some gaps in our understanding of fractions, right? So when we say fraction, we always say it with respect to a particular whole. So what is the whole that is under consideration here? So that determines what the fraction is, right? So if we consider the 25 square thing as the whole, then the fraction will be 4 out of 25, right? Which is the whole that we had considered in the first two questions as well. The 5 by 5 square was the whole. So with respect to that, the blue squares will be 4 out of 25, but not 4 out of 50. So these were some examples where, which I had encountered, where teachers lacked, there was some gaps in their conceptual understanding. So the other aspect of mathematical competence is procedural fluency. So what does procedural fluency mean? It's nothing but it's just carrying out procedures. Different aspects of it is flexibility, accuracy, efficiency, and appropriateness. We all teach procedures, but are students equipped to use procedures flexibly? That is, if I ask a mental math question, are they able to use flexible procedures, or do they fall back to the place value addition that they have learned? So that is something that you can reflect upon. Now let us try to solve this problem. So the problem is you have to arrange numbers 1 to 9 in any order you wish, and you can place the signs plus and minus in between the numbers, and you should get the value of the expression as 0, right? So these are not digits, but these are numbers. So what that means is you can't combine two numbers, right? So each number is different, and in between you can place plus or minus signs. You can also use brackets if you wish. The answer of this expression should be 0. You can take 2 minutes, try out, and then you can share your responses in the chat. I hope the question is clear. Okay. Radha ma'am has, okay, there are some answers. I want you to just verify once more so that you have not made any mistakes. So whatever expression you have mentioned, if you can please check once again, if the result is coming to 0. I hope all of you are trying. So I'll wait for 1 more minute. Okay. So let me give you a hint, right? So the hint is, if we want the difference of two numbers, if we can write this expression, if we can break this expression into two parts, that is the first part minus second part is equal to 0. Can you try to do that? So the first part and second part should be equal, so that when we subtract those two, we should get 0. Now can you try doing this? Give me two expressions made of these numbers so that their value is equal, so that when we subtract them, we get 0. Okay. 9, 8, 17 plus 4, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, 765. Sharanya ma'am, your second expression value, is it 24? I think it is 21. Can you please check that? Yeah, the hint is if you try to break the expression into two equal parts, right? Then if we subtract those two parts, we can get 0. So try to make an expression using numbers 1 to 9. That is, you split the expression into two parts whose value is equal. As some of you have tried to do it in the chat. Yeah, but I think there is some calculation mistake. Okay, I'll give you one more hint. So what is the sum of all the numbers from 1 to 9? What is the sum of all numbers from 1 to 9? 45, right? So can we split 45 into two equal parts? Using only integers, using only natural numbers 1 to 9. So if we write 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 and so on plus 9, can we split that expression into two equal parts so that the values of the two expressions are the same? Is it possible? No, right? Because 45 is an odd number. We can't split it into two equal parts. So the solution to this question, what is the solution to this question? Yes, it is not possible, right? Okay. So here is one more question. What is the answer to this question? So there is one more question on the screen. What is the answer to this question? What will be the sum of 10 odd numbers and 10 even numbers? Will it be odd or even? Yeah, it will be even, right? So how are these two questions different? So the question, what will be the sum of 10 odd numbers and 10 even numbers? We can say it as an application question, right? So we know the property that two odd numbers add up to give an even number, and two even numbers add up to give an even number. And based on this concept, we are asking this question. So it can be considered as an application. So what about the previous question? Is that also an application question? What do you think? So the other aspect of mathematical competence is problem solving and reasoning. So there is a particular reason that I have listed it as different compared to procedural fluency. Procedural fluency is different from problem solving. So what we did just now is problem solving and reasoning. So when we say problem solving, it is not solving problems which we are already familiar with, or types of questions which we are already comfortable with, right? So when we say problem solving, it refers to problems which are not routine to us, right? Which are new to us. Say, for example, the first question that we solved here. So for us, it is a non-routine question because that is the first time we are encountering such a question. Yeah. So the more we practice these kind of questions, the more we attempt these kind of questions, it will also help us build our own problem solving skills. It is something which takes time. It doesn't just happen in a few days or a few weeks. And this experience will also help teachers in creating differentiated instruction and also making good assessment questions. So the more we solve non-routine problems, the better teacher we become. There is no doubt about that. So yeah, as I said, identifying, analyzing, and developing solutions to non-routine problems. And reasoning also, like how are we justifying, how are we communicating our thinking? So that is part of reasoning. So one example of reasoning is you might have known this result, that is HCF into LCM is equal to the product of the two numbers, right? Yeah, are you all aware of this result? You might be teaching this in your middle school. Yeah. So did you know that this result can't be extended to more numbers? So what I mean is, here we have considered HCF of two numbers into LCM of two numbers is equal to product of two numbers. So HCF of three numbers into LCM of three numbers won't be equal to the product of those three numbers. So we can think about this later after the session, why it is so, right? So being able to reason why this is not possible. So the skill of this. So these three are yeah, very fundamental for a teacher to have. So when we say problem solving and reasoning, as teachers, are we comfortable attempting non-routine problems? So we are not expecting you to solve these problems, but do you have the habit of trying out these problems, right? So as I said in the beginning of the session, this session is a journey of self-discovery and reflection for the participants, right? Now I want to pause for a minute and I want all of you to reflect on each of these aspects and note the specific aspects where you think there is scope for improvement in yourself. And if you can please share that in the chat. You can also write it down for yourselves and then share it in the chat. So in these three aspects of mathematical competence, where do you see scope for improvement in yourself? So not just writing conceptual understanding, but the actual concepts where you think you would need more deeper understanding or yeah, insight. So please take a minute, write down for each of the three aspects, and then you can share it in the chat. Okay, nice. So you can start typing in the chat what you have identified yourself. Nice. Problem solving and reasoning, understanding surface area, word problems, conceptual understanding, geometry. Nice. Procedural fluency, reasoning, algebraic expressions. Okay, nice. Coordinate geometry, construction of graphs. Okay, good. Okay, so let us proceed further. So initially we talked that, yeah, teaching is a matter of science, art, heart, and adventure. So now coming to the matter of the heart and of the mind, right? So yeah, we realize that subject knowledge is, of course, an important factor. An equally important, or perhaps more important factor, is our attitude, our feelings, outlook towards the subject we are teaching, and our own beliefs on how teaching learning happens in that subject. Right? So suppose you want to learn a musical instrument, right? What are some qualities and outlook that you would want your guru to have towards the art form and towards students? So I want you to just think for a few seconds and then share your opinion in the chat. So the question is, say you want to learn a musical instrument. What are the qualities and outlook that you would want in your guru? How should they treat the art form? How should they treat the students? Patience, okay. Qualified, kind, okay. Interest, yes, very much important. So the guru should have interest, of course, first towards the musical instrument, right? Otherwise, what is the point of going to someone to learn who the teacher themselves don't have interest, but we want to go towards them to learn that particular art form? It doesn't make sense. Okay. Expertise, knowledge, yes. Commitment, dedication, sincerity, passion. Yes. Nice. Yeah, so coming to ourselves, we can think about how we feel and what we think about maths and maths teaching learning, right? We are teaching maths to several kids. So how do we feel about maths and what we think about maths teaching and learning? So how do we relate to, what are the dispositions, what beliefs do we have, what thoughts do we have about maths and maths teaching? So think of the emotion or feeling that you get first when you hear maths, right? And you can type that in the chat. What is the emotion or feeling that you get first when you hear the word maths? Is it happiness? Is it boredom? Is it anxiety? Is it fear? Is it excitement? Or do you see it as a utility kind of thing, only because it is useful in areas I have to learn it? What are your emotions or feelings? Okay, very nice. And you can also share, according to you, why should we teach maths to kids? Application in real life. Okay. Needed in our daily lives, life related. Maths is interesting, curiosity, fun. Yes. Of course, there is no denying that maths is useful, but that need not be the only reason that we teach maths, right? So we don't learn to play an instrument, or we don't play games because it is useful. We do those things because we enjoy it. So the same thing can be for maths also. Like, we can present the subject so that children get an opportunity to enjoy it, enjoy the experience, and also learn in the process. So to see how a teacher's beliefs impact students' learning, right? You look at the text in the left side. Suppose a teacher believes that every child has the potential to learn maths, perhaps in different ways. and perhaps requiring different time. So if a teacher holds this belief, then if they see a child who is struggling, then they might think what could be what they could do, right? So is the child lacking in some prerequisite? Is the child not interested? Is the child distracted? So maybe we can bring him up front in the first bench. Maybe will that help? So we'll try to be a problem solver. We'll try to see what is not working and try to make it work, right? Compare that with a teacher who holds a belief that math is an ability, that is something you are simply born with. You have it or don't. And it is not a skill that can be acquired and improved. So if a teacher holds this kind of a belief, then the complete onus of learning is left upon the student. There is no responsibility that we are taking upon ourselves, and we are not trying to see what we can do. Maybe it is maybe just the student is not interested in the topic that is being taught, or maybe he's having a bad day, or maybe he needs more time and exposure. So we don't consider all of these if we have this kind of a belief, right? So what belief we hold manifests very much on what happens with the students learning, right? So let me ask you this question: why does fear or anxiety arise in kids? What do you think? So to contrast this, say for example, in a classroom, there is some runner who gets the first place in running. So do the rest of the children feel bad that they are not able to run as quickly as them? They won't, right? Why does it happen with only with maths? Because we have kept maths at a pedestal. We see maths as something higher. So if some student is not able to perform it, there is fear, there is anxiety, there is shame attached to maths. So if we treat maths as any other subject, then naturally students will also not develop this fear within themselves. So I want you to reflect upon what are some beliefs you have seen in other maths teachers that you think are not true. Can you quickly type out one or two things? What are some beliefs you have seen in other maths teachers that you think are not true? Yeah, the question is, what are some beliefs you have seen in other maths teachers that you think are not true? Maths is difficult and everyone cannot learn. Yes, that is a very popular belief. Children don't like maths. Okay. Sticking to a particular method for problem solving. Maths is tricky. Okay. Yes. So yeah, so here is one more situation. Say for example, a teacher in tests, a teacher gives only those type of questions that were discussed in class. So this is the action. So if we try to understand why a teacher does this, right? One possible reason could be, one possible belief that they could have is, students have to be told for them to know or learn new things. They are not capable of doing new maths on their own. Drill is the only way of learning. So if a student thinks, if a teacher has this belief, then what they might do is they'll only give the type of questions that they are already discussed in the classroom. Right? One more possible belief could be, reason could be, if we give new type of questions, students will score less. Then we will have to face the parents and principal. So this could also be one more reason behind this action. Yeah. So some other popular beliefs can be speed is intelligence, right? Rote practice leads to memory. This can be some belief many of you might have. And maths is a very serious subject. So one must be serious and quiet while learning. So there might be many maths teachers who follow this kind of a thing when they take classrooms. That is, it is perfectly quiet and the teacher is the only person who is talking and students are diligently taking notes. Right? Another belief could be only if the child performs well in the test or exam, only then we can say they are good at mathematics. Right? And we might also have our own favorites. That is, few topics are dry, few are interesting, few are tough, few are easy. We may already have our own prejudices or opinions about mathematics, certain topics in mathematics, which influence, which come out when we teach. So we must be aware of these things and try to work on it. Yeah. So you can also later after the session, you can reflect upon what are the beliefs that you have about maths teaching and learning, and what are the reasons, because what are the reasons behind the belief that you have, and because of the belief that you have, what are the actions or consequences. You can reflect upon it later. So yeah, coming to the art and action. So the most popular followed teaching practice in maths classroom is, first we explain a concept, then we give some examples, right? And then we solve the exercise questions, right? This is the we can call it the 3X approach: explain, give examples, and give exercise questions. Right? How many of you follow this method, or how many of you have seen other teachers doing this in their classrooms? Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, this is the most popular way of teaching maths, right? Even we also have learned in this way when we were children. So what NEP and NCF are trying to bring is exactly this shift from this 3X approach to what I call the ABC approach. That is, you ask a question, right? And you give them some time to think. And in a classroom, you can also allow some time for discussion and brainstorming. And then out of the discussion, you conclude the concept. So this is a very simplistic way of putting what we call inquiry-based, discovery-based, and discussion-based pedagogy. So as what I did when I gave the question of using numbers 1 to 9, make the expression giving 0. That is, I asked the question, I gave you all time to work. I agreed that the time was very less because of the constraints. Yeah. So I gave some time to think, and then I gave intermediate hints, right? And if it was an actual in-person session, there would have been some nice discussions amongst ourselves. So in a classroom, you can always do that. You can have discussions. Students can share their thinking and their reasoning. And most often it happens that the answers come out from this discussion itself. We don't even have to teach any particular way of doing problems. So this is the shift that you can remember. Try to include these elements. That is, ask, give some time to think, give some time for discussion, and then the concept automatically comes. Right? So as we said, teaching is also adventure, right? Yes. So whenever we see some new changes in curriculum, the natural feeling that we get is, okay, we never studied these things when we were kids. Or say, for example, we used to have set theory in 9th standard, now they have removed it. Or you might also get these thoughts that we know how to teach. We have been teaching it for the past 10 years. So it's very natural to get these kind of thoughts and feelings whenever there is change, right? How resilient we are to change and challenge. So that much more effective we'll be as teachers. So fundamentally, the question is, are we lifelong learners? Are we evolving, or are we set in stone? Have we become fixed sculptures, or are we evolving, growing ourselves? Right. Yeah. So be a part of it is how mentally and emotionally strong we are, and more importantly, sensitive. So these both go together. Being strong and sensitive, they are not opposites, but they are complementary in nature. And do we have a growth mindset? Are we flexible? Are we reflective? So we are so busy that we don't look back and see what we are doing and is it working or not, right? So take some time out for yourself. Think what you're doing. Yeah. And how often do we solve problems, right? When was the last time you solved a non-routine problem? You can also seek support from peers, mentors, and leaders when you are faced with challenges. So coming back to the final takeaway, NEP has recommended 50-hour CPD. How can we best make use of it, right? So as we already saw, the first and foremost important thing is the subject knowledge. So if you are teaching primary, we should have at least the subject knowledge and problem solving skills of all the concepts and topics in the middle stage. That is the at least expectation. The more the better, of course. And if you are teaching middle stage, then we should have the subject knowledge and problem solving skills of at least all the high school topics, and so on. So as simplest thing that one could do is just read the new textbook and follow it like a learner. So many times, even if the textbook is changed, we don't look at what are the changes. We directly jump to the exercise questions and do just that. But try to read the entire textbook like a learner and have discussions with your fellow teachers. Observing each other's classes can be very valuable. So when I used to observe other teachers' classes, so there is always a lot to learn, right? So there are two things. One is you learn new things from the teacher that you're observing. And the other aspect is, while observing, you will remember many of your own ways of teaching, and you'll get many insights of what you are doing and how effective it is. So it is both ways. It acts as a self-reflectory mechanism, and also to learn new things from the teacher that we're observing. And there are plenty of online resources, as many of the other speakers have also shared. I can find good problems, puzzles. There are nice explanation videos. There are blog posts sharing different lesson plans, interesting explanations. And there are also classroom recordings where they show these kind of pedagogies, right? And there are interesting talks about pedagogy and new mathematical developments. You can also use the new Gen AI tools. If you want to understand some concept deeper, you can ask, how do I, if I want to get a better understanding of this, you can type customized queries in Gen AI to learn concepts. So you can also try to bring in long-term professional development programs in your school. Why I suggest or emphasize this long-term is, so if we just have short-term professional development programs, most often the change in our day-to-day practices may not be as much. But if you bring in some long-term professional development program in your school, then there is more chance that your day-to-day teaching and reality is changing, right? Yeah, and as I said, self-reflection. So the simplest thing that you could do is you can audio record your own session and later go and listen. Then you'll realize many more things which you might not be aware of before, right? And maybe you can also try to think, what do you do all day? So when I say what do you do all day, what amount of time am I spending in classroom teaching? What amount of time am I spending checking notes or marking answer sheets? How much time am I spending in thinking about lesson plans in my own learning? So if I try to list this down over a day or in a month or in a year, what fraction of it I'm spending in each of these? So that will be a good starter to see what where your time is going. Right? So yeah, this was the crux of today's session. So I want you to put in chat what was your takeaway from today's session. One shot.
Thank you so much, Shravan sir, for such an insightful session.
Yeah.
Participants, the chat box is open. If you have any query, any questions, if you want to ask, you can put your question in the chat box. Shravan sir will be asking you questions.
You can share any thoughts, reflections, learnings, or questions in the chat. Is there any book which has these challenging questions? Okay, there is a good website called enrich.com. I have put in the chat. You can find a lot of interesting non-routine problems there.
So I think, sir, the audience are not having any questions to ask. We are getting like a lot of very positive feedbacks for the session. Thank you, Mr. Shravan, for such an insightful session. You have shown us that being a math mentor goes beyond teaching the curriculum. It's about empowering students to think critically, build confidence, and solve problems with creativity and resilience. Educators, this session has given us the tools to not only teach math, but to mentor our students to approach it with confidence, curiosity, and a problem solving mindset. And just to remind you again, the next session of 2 to 3 p.m. has been cancelled because of some unavoidable circumstances. Our next session will be at 4 p.m. And in this session, after the ending, there will be a quiz. So we'll meet you again for the last session of the day of our Mathematics Summit 4.0 at 4 p.m. Stay tuned as we continue this transformative journey and get ready for the next session from 4 to 5 p.m. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time, sir.